Punch Out. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at tonight's FanDuel slate, and it's not a pretty one. I mean, we got a lot of aces, a lot of guys you don't usually want to pick on. For me, I mean, you're going to probably have to take some risks somewhere if you want to really be different. But overall, it's just, ugh.
You know that song about the Ace of Spades?
Yes. Yeah.
I was going to break into song, and then I remembered I'm not good at singing or humming even, so I didn't. But just know the thought was there.
You didn't want to break down to a full Motorhead cover band.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there is a lot of good pitching on the slate, so we can't complain too much. But, yeah, it's there's not really that many ways to go, honestly.
No, it's pretty limited.
Most nights we come in optimistic about like being different and everything. I mean, in a tournament, you got to be weird. I mean, the winner tonight's probably gonna stack against Jose Fernandez or something dumb. But overall, in terms of where you actually want to go, pretty relatively limited, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is, and we'll get into that first game here. Jose Fernandez versus Michael Wacha, and I'm not really looking at any Cardinals here who are sort of banged up. I mean, I can't really see a lot of those guys doing anything off Fernandez. I mean, he's just too dominant at home. The strikeout rate, I mean, over 35%. It's just tough. There's no real ways to exploit Fernandez. So Cardinals are a pass for me. I mean, as you mentioned, it just is like if you want to stack them to be completely dumb.
Yeah, it's kind of like the guy who always stacks the first game of the night so he can be in first for 5 minutes, except instead of being in first, you'll just be last the entire way. So if you want to be last the entire time tonight, you can just stack Cardinals.
Yeah, that's basically what it's going to be. As far as the Marlins go, I'm not too intrigued with their offense, but I think just given the fact that it is a pretty limited slate, you might want to take some shots here and just kind of hope they back Fernandez with some run support. And I don't mind the Stanton price tag at 3.6. It's once again, it's that outfield trio that's pretty intriguing for me.
Yeah, I think you look at the outfielders once again, 36, 36, 32. I'm okay with that, but beyond that, I'm not really too excited about anyone here. I'm not even really intrigued by them in cash that much. So tournament one-offs with this Marlins lineup, but other than that, not really seeing much.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a tournament thing just because it's not a perfect matchup. I think we're more targeting Orioles, Red Sox, and trying to look that route for cash games, Rangers too.
If we can with the Red Sox, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things. It's Red Sox great matchup tonight, but expensive. So yeah, definitely going to be a tough, tricky time. But Phillies Braves next year, Aaron Nola versus Matt Whistler. I'm definitely more prone to stacking against Whistler if you want to be really different GPPs tonight. I think Nola's going to bounce back and have a pretty solid start. I think he's been rather unlucky over his last stretch of games. I know he hasn't been great, but Whistler a far less talented arm than Nola is.
Yeah, Whistler allowed 16 earned runs in his last 3 starts, one of them being against the lowly White Sox. So I think, while I don't think they're going to shell him, I could see him giving up 4 runs and maybe some of these guys in the middle of the order being values here. Odubel Herrera finally under 4K, so I think that's pretty reasonable place to make a move. I think that's going to be lower owned tonight just because of some of the higher end options and paying up for pitching. So I'd be interested by that and maybe a Cesar Hernandez.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, Herrera's still a little bit expensive, but I think given the fact that he is expensive, it's definitely going to keep his ownership down. I think that's a great GPP call because I do think he is going to be around that 5-6% ownership at most in GPPs, and there is some upside there. I don't mind Cameron Rupp or Maikel Franco either, even though they don't have the lefty splits like Herrera or Hernandez do. But I don't mind this Phillies front end. I think it's just a way to be a little bit contrarian tonight and a way to get some value into a slate that's not really giving.
But like you mentioned, if you pay up for a Jose Fernandez or someone else expensive, Chris Sale, you're just gonna gloss completely over Odubel Herrera because you don't want to pay 3,800 for him. But it is a good matchup, so I really do think that's an interesting contrarian tournament play.
Yeah, definitely. And if there's any lefties that sneak up in the top half of that lineup, that's where I'll definitely be giving a look.
Mm,
Just because of Whistler, I mean, 379 WOBA, but the lefties going back to last year, 1.67 home runs per nine. So I'll definitely be giving lefties a look in that Phillies lineup.
for sure.
As far as the Braves go, I mean, you might get me to take a shot at Freddie Freeman at 3-3. I don't mind that price tag, but outside of that, that's about it for me.
I wish I had taken more shots yesterday, but yes, agreed.
Monster night, yeah.
Definitely agree on Freeman. 3-3 is a really nice spot for him. Um, I mean, could Aaron Nola blow up again? I mean, I feel like that's definitely in his range of outcomes. So this is, again, I think this is a pretty decent tournament game because, okay, so he had the good start against the Marlins, but he had a big stretch there where he allowed 4 more earned runs pretty much every start. And obviously, last game against the Pirates was bad too. So lots of lefties in this lineup. Nola hasn't been perfect, so I do think you can take some shots here. I mean, Nick Markakis is at 25. I think you could do him and Freeman and feel pretty good about your lineup in a tournament sense. Get some low ownership there too.
Yeah, I mean, Nola hasn't been bad against lefties, but he hasn't been good either. He's just kind of been middle of the road. So, yeah, I mean, I don't mind a Freeman and even a Markakis at 2.5 if you do need to dive down. I think those are two guys you can take a look at. Yeah, I mean, I think this game is going to be one that could be a difference maker.
It is gross. It's a gross game. Like, I wouldn't deny that. But at the same time, it's like these pitchers have been weird this year. So I'm kind of okay with taking some shots on a 7-gamer.
Yeah, no, I am too, and it really is because of the slate. Here we are
Yeah.
diving into Phillies.
Right. Diving into Nick Markakis, yeah.
Yeah. So, but finally, we can move on to that. I mean, Orioles and
Yeah.
Twins. Next one here. This one features two subpar right-handers, and I think you got to really like both sides here. And I think the Twins are cash game playable for me tonight. I don't say that often. I think it's just because of the slate that I feel okay using some back end guys like a Kepler or a Vargas, even though the strikeout rates are high. I don't mind them.
Well, and normally the righties against righty, they're not as good. But Ubaldo Jimenez is kind of a guy where you're like, well, all right, guess we're still firing away with the righties tonight. So in that case, I think you're really looking at that 3-4-5, and even that Kenny Vargas fella at 3K. So all under 4K and Nunez as well. I think that's a full stack potential type game. And like you mentioned, I think some of those guys are viable in cash as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not going to be my first option, but it's just going to be okay if the guy does fit and I can't get anyone else. I don't mind. I'm not stacking Twins in cash, but I don't mind a one-off piece there if it fits. Just because, yeah, I mean, Jimenez, I mean, struggles against both sides of the plate, and I love Vargas. I think he's a great high upside play tonight at 3K. So if you are using a Fernandez, he kind of fits in nicely. You're not getting Ortiz, you're not getting anyone else out there, but you still got some power.
For sure. Yeah. So the 3-6 there is something to take a strong look at, in my opinion.
Yeah. And on the Baltimore side, I think for me, I'm really looking at this lineup pretty deeply. Adam Jones at 3.5, I think is a nice price tag. I really do think these guys are all playable. Chris Davis is the only one I wouldn't touch in cash games.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do we think of that Chris Davis at 4 price? I don't like that at all.
He gets lost for me. We'll dive into DK. I like his price a little bit more there. FanDuel, yeah, it's a little bit high for me. You got a lot of guys cheaper, or maybe you just even bump rate up. So it's not the greatest price tag for me, but everyone else I feel comfortable with. And I like a Matt Wieters at 2.5. I think he's a nice catching option.
Yeah, even a Hansu Kim at 3K, I kind of like him if he's still batting second tonight. So definitely keep an eye on that. Machado's reasonable range, Adam Jones reasonable range. So these guys are cash game playable, and pretty reasonably priced, even if you pay up for pitching. So that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, definitely. And the Hyun-Soo Kim, I mean, that's a good, nice call. He's hit righties really well. Really nice value.
Yep.
White Sox and Cubs here, and this is probably the game that's the most intriguing for me, where I would look to make some GPP moves as far as hitters go, because I think you can look at the White Sox offense and kind of hope that Lackey continues his recent trend of being average at best or even kind of blowing up, because they're all really cheap. So I don't mind a White Sox kind of stack or a couple one-offs here with the Fernandez to kind of get some good exposure. I think it could be possible. It's just where I'm thinking for the slate as far as being different.
This is like we're in the city and we turn around the corner and Jason's just in the trash can digging through the trash, and we're like, holy crap, Jason, get yourself together. No, I don't. I'm okay with that. Again, on a 7-gamer, it's kind of like we were talking about. We kind of got intrigued, or I did, by the Phillies and Braves. This is sort of the same thing. Much better pitching in this game, but at the same time, much better offenses. So, I mean, you're looking at this White Sox team. Almost everyone's 3K or below. I think at that stage you can pretty much take some shots, as you mentioned, Adam Eaton, Todd Frazier, guys like that. I think that's definitely viable in tournaments. And then, I mean, Chris Sale's been good, but I could see doing something on a 7-gamer, because again, you're trying to differentiate yourself. Had that rough start against the Braves just 2 starts ago. Has had a few more within the last 2 months, so it's not impossible. And on a 7-gamer, I think, especially if you're making quite a few tournament lineups, that's something you at least want to consider, because if you're hedging and all that and sort of making multiple lineups and really saying, okay, I'm going to cover this entire slate, and you don't do one lineup like that, it happens more often than we'd like to think,
Yeah, definitely. And I think the Cubs are a good team to kind of target. I mean, if I'm targeting any ace tonight, I feel like it's either going to be Cole Hamels or Chris Sale.
Yeah.
I just think you look at this Cubs offense and the potential that they have for power, and the fact that Chris Sale's pitching to contact a little more than usual in his past, has given up a little bit more of a home run rate. I think you can take some good shots. I mean, we just look at some of these numbers against lefties. I mean, Fowler's great, Bryant's great, Contreras, Zobrist, Javier Baez. I mean, it's just, they're really quality against left-handed. So I think this is just going to be a game where you could get some one-offs power, but I don't know. I feel like Sale, it could be a complete boomer bust game for him.
I do too. And I like that call of Javier Baez, because end of a lineup against Sale, I just feel like people are not going to be in on that type of move, but he does have really good splits against lefties. So I do like that quite a bit. It might be a Chris Bryant night too. So I think those are really intriguing options for a tournament. And I mean, Chris Bryant would be super contrarian, because that'd mean,
given his price is relatively similar to what it always is.
Yeah.
It hasn't come down because Sale's on the mound, so I think that's going to definitely creep him into a lower ownership.
Yeah, so I do think that's an intriguing way to go. And while I joked that Jason was digging through the trash, it is actually pretty intriguing.
You started to join me. You're like, oh, wait, let's see what's in here.
You're on to something. I got a half a burger I found. And I'm like, whoa, I'm hungry.
Yeah. You find like half a milkshake that someone barely threw away. That's Todd Frazier. I mean, Todd Frazier is the half-eaten burger. I think, sometimes you get lucky and you find it and you take a bite of it. Horrible analogy, but I think Todd Frazier is a good play tonight in GPPs.
Yeah.
Rangers and Royals, and this one a little bit easier to kind of sort through and figure out where you want to go with. I'm much more in on the Rangers than I am on the Royals. The Rangers prices are a little bit up there for me, but I can't knock a Profar or Mazzara, both under 2,500, leading off against a shaky Ventura who's been roughed up on the road quite a bit this year.
Yeah, so I like this lineup, but at the same time, I I think I like it more because it's on a 7 game slate than because I'm totally in on it. But yeah, like you mentioned, Profar and Mazzara, you really like those prices. And you know, I joked about Desmond's price yesterday, but he's paid it off. He's paid off that big price tag 2 out of the last 3 days. So I'm done joking with him. I think he's in play. And I mean, I think Beltre's in play as well. So I think that 1 through 5 is really strong. If you want to be different, I think you could stack that 3 through 5. I don't think that's going to be very high owned. Just because that price range really kind of takes you out of the Fernandez sort of thinking. But I mean, I think that's definitely in play, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think, the Adore price tag at 3.9 isn't going to have a lot of people on him. If you want to take a shot at a Joey Gallo at 2.2 for some power, I don't hate that in GPPs either. I think it's a good way to get some value and a lot of pop there. So I think this Rangers offense has a good mix of kind of high price guys like Desmond, Belcher, and Odor, while everyone else sits below 2,500. You can do a lot of mixing and matching.
The Profar Mazzara Gallo stack would be like super fun, I think. You could fit in a lot of nice pieces around that.
You really could. I mean, that could get you a David Ortiz.
Yeah.
It could get you a Mookie Betts if you wanted to. I think that is a good way to kind of maybe get some value. And I think Profar Mazzara for me, and as you stated, I mean, this game is a little bit more appealing as far as the Rangers side because it's a 7 game slate. It does kind of force them into being cash value for me.
Right, exactly.
So as far as the Royals go, I mean, I wasn't too intrigued with their prices. Coming here, I thought they'd be a little bit lower, but given the fact that Hamels has kind of struggled at home.
He has, yes.
There has been a lot of power. I mean, there aren't a lot of lefty crushers against this team, but I don't know. I don't mind taking a shot with a Morales at 3.6. They'd be
I don't
GPP.
I don't like this game at all. Like, I don't like this matchup at all because I almost feel like I want to get exposure to the Royals just so I don't miss out on something, because I feel like there's definitely something I could be missing out on, but I don't really like any individual piece. I don't like Hamels, but I feel like maybe I should get some exposure to him too. It's just really a mess. Overall, I don't like it. On a bigger slate, I wouldn't be thinking about either side, but I worry on a 7 gamer that, okay, there is some upside here. Who are we really looking at? I mean, Kendrys Morales.
Yeah, I don't mind Morales. I mean, the pricing was a little bit higher than I expected coming into the slate.
Yeah.
I didn't think
Perez
would be 3.7. I think that's a little too high for me when you have a lot of cheaper guys down low. I don't know. I mean, I don't mind a Cuthbert in GPPs. I don't hate that move. I don't mind some of the back end guys if you want to really dive down for value in GPPs. The Royals are definitely GPP moves for me. I think I'm really just looking at the back end guys and kind of hoping something hits in that ballpark, and just kind of more of a punt play with a guy like Eibner or Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Hamels coming off a really good start against the Royals. He had those 2 really down games against the Twins, who obviously hit lefties well. I don't know. I feel like they'll definitely limit his upside. But
more of a wash, if anything, for you.
I just got a weird feeling about that game. I don't like it at all. I want to X this off of my slate. Just cross it off. Just get out of here. Get off my slate.
So it's a good time to move on to the Sox, who are facing Jared Weaver. I think
that should be a lot of fun.
It should be. Here's the thing. I mean, you get the dilemma of where, okay, they're facing Jared Weaver, struggles against both sides of the plate, a lot of home runs. Could be there for the Sox tonight, but the prices are high. That's the downside to the Sox and where we are at this point in the season.
Jackie Bradley is the one guy I'm really looking at, and I think he's going to be super chalky at 32. I don't see how he's not 20% owned in tournaments, at least.
Yeah, he was the one name that really popped out on my slate. And he's going to be a guy I'm with you, and I think a lot of people are just going to have a lot of exposure to him because hitting sixth in this Red Sox lineup is equivalent to like hitting fourth in other lineups. So
Right.
I don't mind the lineup behind or in front and in back of him. I think at that price tag, he's been very solid, and he's still kind of continuing to be a really solid hitter. It's just kind of gone a lot more under the radar of late.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I like the 3-2 price tag. I don't mind spinning down from Ortiz to Hanley. That's a pretty big discount. I think if you have to, I don't mind doing that.
Yeah, so a Hanley Bradley little move there I think is really nice and kind of keeps you in contention for some of those high-end pitching options. Even throwing Pedroia in there doesn't totally kill you. So, but it's like Bogarts Ortiz bets are really cramping your style in terms of price tonight, but obviously they're worth it. I mean, this could be a bad moment in Jared Weaver's life.
It really could, and I'm looking, and I do want to get exposure. I think there will be lineups where I dive down at pitcher and kind of stack. Maybe I roll a Nola and kind of hope for the best that he has a quality outing and the Sox kind of pay off that price tag. But getting them in with a Fernandez, I think Ramirez and Bradley are kind of the only logical options that don't completely kill you. You're still going to have to dive down to a Profar or a Mazzara or Gallo at some point to get these guys in. It's just the slate that we're dealing with.
Yeah, I think your answer really is the top of that Rangers lineup and Gallo if you're looking at a Red Sox stack of any sort, Yeah,
I mean, I think it's just needed for value, and that's the most optimal value that we're given tonight.
Right.
As far as the Angels go, I mean, David Price on the hill really gives up a ton of hits. I don't know. I don't see myself really using any Angels tonight. I don't see the need to. Mike Trout at 4-1. I don't know if he's quite worth that price tag. I think I'd rather kind of spin up to bets or go with some other options like a Desmond. So I don't know. I kind of just think the Angels are kind of a washout to me, even though they are cheap.
If I felt that we could get low ownership on Mike Trout, I'd be okay with it, but it just never seems to happen. It seems like whatever the slate, no matter who they're going against, he's at least 10 to 15% at the minimum. So it's like, what are you really gaining by playing him against Price here? Obviously, it's Mike Trout, so you like it at 4-1. But in terms of roster construction, I don't know how it fits, really.
Yeah, I'm not too intrigued. I mean, projected run total near 3.5. It's not appealing. Even on a 7-game slate, I'd rather take shots in better ballparks and guys with better consistent, kind of rates.
Right.
Last game of the night here, Giants and Nationals, and you got Tanner Roark and Johnny Cueto. Taking a look at the National side, Bryce Harper 3,200.
Mm-hmm.
That's a GPP worth look for me. I think that's, obviously, Cueto, a quality right-hander, not unbeatable, but I kind of like Harper 3,200. Him and Trey Turner, Murphy. I think it could have been intriguing 3 to kind of look at, just given price considered.
Yeah, they certainly bake a lot into those park factors. So I mean, Harper understandably priced down, but that's really priced down. So I do like that quite a bit. I mean, that puts him into pretty much any lineup construction you really want to fit him into, which is nice. And that's something you can normally say about a hitter like that. So I do like that. Murphy, again, a tournament guy, but he's more expensive. So I think we're leaning more Harper tonight. But yeah, beyond that, you're not looking at anyone else in that lineup.
No, it's just really that top 3 that I want to take a look at. I think those are the most guys that could get to Cueto. As far as the Giants go, I mean, if there are runs from this game, I think it's more so coming from the Giants side.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind a Brandon Crawford at 2.5 or Brandon Belt at 2.9. Posey at 3.1 is not that bad of a price either. So I really don't mind the 3.45. I mean, obviously Rourke has been solid, but I mean, he's starting to kind of come back down to earth and be a little bit more average here of late. So I know the Giants offense hasn't been great, but I think given the slate, once again, if this was a bigger slate, we wouldn't really be looking.
Yeah, no, I like Belt and Crawford at their prices. And then as you mentioned, Posey only 31. So I like the 4.56 there. Probably not taking too many shots at the front of the lineup, but I do like the 4.56 there.
Yeah, so I think this game could be an intriguing standpoint as far as GPP goes come the end of the night.
Right.
That's going to wrap things up here with the FanDuel Punch Out. Be sure to check out DailyFantasyCafe.com for all great tools and content.